there. This is another edition of What's the Story? My name is Jo Painter here on the People Chronicles. We just find out what is the story on any number of subjects. So if you have an idea, just shoot us an email and we'll take care of that for you. Like us on Facebook and subscribe on YouTube. We like all of those things as well. We got curious. What's the story with Jerry Holleran? We see his name on a lot of things, and there's a center for community development at Alvernia, the Holleran Center. Is that correct, Jerry?
Holleran Center for Community Engagement, yes.
For community engagement.
The idea is to get the Alvernia students involved in various projects throughout the community as part of their service outreach from the school. And
they do some pretty cool programs over there. I was talking with Jay Worrell about it, and it's impressive, the different things the students are involved in.
Well, Jay is a very good leader, and he's gotten the young people there very excited about the program. And interestingly enough, I have a grandnephew from down in Delaware who's going to Alvernia, and he's gotten involved in that center as well. And he's enjoying it, and Jay said he's one of their better.
He's living up to the name, right? The Holleran name.
Well, his name is McDowell, so
but he's related, you know.
He's related, yes.
So Jerry, I mean, your name is on a number of programs, scholarships, and so forth. Why is that important to you? Where did all of that dedication come from?
Well, I guess some of the roots may go back to my education in Pittsburgh, where I went to a parochial grade school and high school. The high school was all boys and Central Catholic in Pittsburgh. And it was a very good education. We had the Christian brothers who are teachers. They were very instrumental in developing my foundation, ethics and moral theology, and living the good life, but the right life. And I think those are kind of foundation kinds of things in my life.
What did you have to do to maintain the tuition and maintain attendance at this Central Catholic School for Boys?
Well, you were actually sponsored by your individual parishes, and we had a very active pastor who would actually give out the report cards to the students as they were developed. And if you weren't working up to his expectations,
did you get the boot?
You'd get the boot. You would instantly be in a public school.
and then mom and dad would not be very happy with that.
They would not be too happy. No, that's right.
So when you were at the Catholic boys' school, what was your goal? Where did you want to go next?
You know, it's funny. I wasn't exactly sure whether I was going to be able to afford a college education, so I didn't really catch fire on that until my stepfather intervened and said, what do you think about education? He says, we can't send you away to school. There's not that kind of resources to do that. But I have a contact over at Carnegie Institute of Technology at that time. It's now Carnegie Mellon University. But he said, why don't you go over and talk to him, and I'll set up an interview for you. So I did. I went over. I'll never forget it. I talked to him, and he said, this was Dr. Jones. He was the vice president of the school. And he said, I have a friend over at Mellon Institute who is head of the research activity over there, and he occasionally will sponsor, tuition for worthy young students. So why don't you go over and talk to him? So I set up an interview, went over, and I sat and I looked at this very dour-faced researcher and
sounds intimidating.
Well, yeah, very intimidating. He said, he heard the story where I was. He saw my grades. I was pretty high in the class, and showed that I could perform in a Carnegie Tech environment. So he said, I'll tell you what, I'll pay your tuition on 3 conditions. The one is you maintain your grades. Okay, that was a given. The second one is, he said, you need a little help here. He said, and I need a little help. If you'll work in my garden on weekends and take care of the hedges and the grass and cutting and so on, okay, that'll help you get a little bit of extra money so you can buy your books, because I'm not sponsoring the books. But the third condition, which is probably the most important one, he said, the third one is a moral obligation. I want you to repay this kind of service to other individuals.
So he wants you to pay it forward.
At some time later in your life. He says, you may not be able to do it right away, but at some point I want you to pay back. So as fortune would have it, I've been able to pay it back multiple times in multiple ways.
Did that, as you were getting your degree and starting in business and, venturing out there and making your own life, did that weigh on you? Was that always in the back of your mind?
Well, it was always in the back of my mind, but of course I graduated in electrical engineering, undergraduate, and I gravitated into sales engineering because I liked that much better than straight engineering. That meant
sales engineering.
Sales engineering meant that you were dealing with people on very technical kinds of products.
Okay.
And that appealed to me, and I was very active in doing that at different divisions of Westinghouse Electric and later on RCA. But I really did not like design engineering per se. So I gravitated to the sales end where there's more people related. And, that experience allowed me to move from Westinghouse Electric to RCA. And when I was at RCA, I had an opportunity to go back to graduate school, and I said, I need the business background. So I concentrated on getting what was effectively an MBA. At
that point, did you want to be a business owner, entrepreneurial business owner?
I felt I did. I felt that it was important. If I wanted to really get a career in management, let's say,
right,
per se, I was going to need to get some more business training. So as it turned out, I came back to Carnegie Mellon at that time. They changed their name. And that was very, very instrumental in my going into management consulting.
What happened in your life that put you on that path anyway? What were your first jobs that maybe that put that bug in you?
Well, my first entrepreneurial experience was probably as a paperboy. I was 9 years old. Usually they didn't want paperboys that young, but I was helping a couple of brothers who had combined routes, and this route manager was desperate to have this position filled, so I took it on, and I learned very quickly some business principles, such as there are deadbeats out there. There are people that stiff the paperboy, and I found out very quickly that you had to pay your bills when you were a paperboy. The route manager would come around on a Saturday morning and expect payment for the papers. Of course, at that time, papers were 5 cents a piece, and 15 cents for the Sunday edition. And there were people who didn't pay their bills, and as much as you try to run them down, you didn't always get your payment. So that was your loss, and you had to eat it. So you
learned very quickly cost and profit margin.
Oh, very much so. Yeah.
And then you went to Carnegie. You had somebody sponsor you there that said, I want you to pay it forward.
Yes.
How did you get to the point you were able to do that?
Well, I would have to credit Arrow International. A group of 4 of us got together in 1975. 2 of us were Rockwell employees, and 2 were on the outside. But at that time, Rockwell was involved in the knitting machinery and knitting elements business, and I was with the knitting elements part of the business along with Ray Niag. And the 2 of us joined forces with a couple of outsiders, and we purchased the assets from Rockwell and got Rockwell to expend some credit to us so that we could continue to operate. None of us were independently wealthy. And I credit that experience with a lot of what I was able to do with regard to future philanthropy.
Current philanthropy, because you do a lot.
Yeah.
That the experience and the success of Arrow International, it can only be the cumulative effect of all of your experiences and your partner's experiences to get there. It's tough to say one. Is there any one or one that maybe sticks out, life experience, that you would say, this really helped me later, so that we can maybe think about that?
Well, one factor I would say was very common is that all 4 of us had individual skills that, even though in some cases they overlapped, they didn't interfere with each other. We were all able to work together. None of us ever lost an hour of sleep worrying about.
You're kidding me.
Yeah.
I thought all business owners didn't really sleep much.
No, we did. And these were fine gentlemen who we all respected each other very much. And that made it very easy to do things without guarding your backside, so to speak. We all trusted each other's individual judgments. And
who was your mentor along the way?
Oh,
was it the gentleman that afforded the tuition, or was it somebody?
Well, he certainly was always in the back of my mind as to when am I ever going to be able to repay this moral obligation?
Yeah.
And as Arrow got more and more successful, I was able to, I've got involved in a lot of things in the community, and including United Way, and of course it was interesting. Both Carolyn and I, my wife, we went through the various chairs of United Way. We actually chaired a campaign in 1988, and our theme was "Let's all band together." And the idea was we wanted to have a music element in the theme.
Oh, band together.
Band together.
Very clever.
So we had a lot of fun with that. We managed to meet our campaign goal, but that time was, I think, about $4.5 million.
Wow.
So right now the campaign is up around the $9 million
It keeps
level.
growing.
So it's growing.
It keeps growing. As you give, and you're committed to that moral obligation, you say, as you give, do you feel, what do you get back? What does it mean to you?
Well, you get back a lot of intangibles.
Yeah.
First of all, I think giving, is something you can't legislate. Right. People really have to feel that it's, a worthwhile organization to begin with. And like everybody else, we get a lot of appeals, and frankly, we have to limit ourselves to the ones that we think are the ones we want to support.
You're committed to your alma maters. So as those students today reap the benefits of an education through your generosity, do you talk to them like this gentleman spoke with you?
Yes, Carnegie Mellon and Alvernia are both two of the universities that we are heavily involved in scholarship-wise. Yes, Carnegie Mellon. Annually, I try to get back to chat with the students who are carrying our scholarship.
Do you tell them they have a moral obligation?
I do.
Excellent.
And it's surprising. Sometimes it's the first time they hear that.
Really?
Yeah, which is somewhat disturbing, but you have to put it in the context of the university. They're there to educate. Mm-hmm. One of the things about the philanthropy to Carnegie Mellon is that we also made some money available so the kids could experience Philanthropy 101. We give them money each year out of the monies that we gave. The university provides $5,000 for these Holleran scholars to get together and decide how they're going to spend that money on a project that has some implications for philanthropy, related to their school experience.
So you not only give, you teach how to give.
That's part of it. And
help them experience, because in so doing, you'll experience the benefits of giving, and there are many.
Right. Interesting enough, Andrew Carnegie did the same thing.
Really?
He wrote a book on that. And he says, one of his quotations, I probably a little bit paraphrased, but he said, "To die with wealth is a disgrace."
I don't think you're going to do that, Jerry, because you keep giving, and it's a wonderful thing. And most important, you inspire all of us to go, you know what, I have this here. Doesn't have to be a lot, but whatever you have, if you can give back, that's right. Important.
Everybody can play a role in philanthropy. And I think there's enough needs out there that I don't think there's any scarcity of projects for people to get involved in. I would recommend United Way for somebody to
start there.
United Way does not sponsor agencies; they sponsor projects. So it's a good place for people, to learn about the projects. In fact, they have ways they take volunteers to get involved in sorting out what projects United Way is going to spend their money on.
So that something worthwhile is accomplished with the money that is donated.
Exactly.
And now we know Jerry Holleran better. I know I learned something, and I really, really appreciate you taking the time, because it's been a pleasure meeting you.
Well, thank you. I appreciate being here.
And now you know what's the story. Join us again. Thank you.
Thank you.
At Queen City Family Restaurant on Lancaster Avenue in Reading, we cook delicious meals 24/7. Breakfast is available anytime. We have a 25-plus item salad bar, extraordinarily tasteful daily soups, fresh made-to-order lunch and dinner entrees. Whatever you're in the mood for, our friendly staff is here to serve you in our newly renovated atmosphere.